Here. Why don't you come over here and identify yourself? You will see the Mad Hatter running in here. This is Rita. Welcome to the Christian Village Church and our television program. We're sharing with you 500 some odd families all over the country and in different parts of the world, and it's good to have you. We're doing the 10 worlds, the principles of the 10 worlds of Buddha. Now, what we're talking about here, what Shakyamuni Buddha taught, was that every human being possesses all of these 10 worlds. In other words, what he said is these are part of your personality. You each have part of these 10 worlds in your mind. You know, that's the way you function. And in different people, different worlds are stronger and weaker. Some people have a tendency towards desire. Some people have a tendency towards the animal nature. Some people are very tranquil. Some people are living in hell almost all the time. Some people focus on learning and realization. There are people who have elevated themselves. It depends on you. See? But the interesting part about this is whatever state is dominant in your life and in you, because one of these is dominant in you, affects the other 9. They interrelate with one another. In other words, you can't be tranquil all the time, okay? So how is that going to relate to another aspect of your life, since it's going to interrelate with one of those? There's a chair right up there, Steve, if you're interested, okay? So if anger, for instance, let's say you have the strongest aspect, and this is the way he taught this. If the strongest aspect of your mind is anger, and if that's very dominant in your life, okay, but you also possess a second strongest, maybe bodhisattva, which is giving and doing for other people. So you'll be compassionate because you'll be doing for others, but at the same time, you're going to be lording over them the feelings that they have to be helped. In other words, it'll be something like this. You know, here, I made this for you because I know that you don't have anything, and I want you to have it. But I got to tell you something. If you'll get off of your duff and start working like everybody else will, because you're not going to have me all the time hanging around here. So what has happened? You've gone, you've given that person something, but at the same time, you're beating them up because they're not doing what you think they should do. And that's what happens when you have anger, which is the dominant part of your personality, but you have a strong leaning to bodhisattva, which is giving to other people. That's what he... this is an amazing... You know what's the amazing thing about this? Is that you have been taught all of your life, stay away from this Buddhist stuff. You had no idea what this man was into. No idea that he spent his 82 years of life teaching you how you work, teaching you why you feel the way you do, why you act the way you do, how you can overcome the way you act and the way you feel. See? And what about one where you have anger possessed by one whose bodhisattva nature is dominant? In other words, here you had a giving nature, but the anger was dominant. Let's turn it around. Let's say you have a giving nature which is dominant, and anger is second. What happens then? Well, you're giving, but at the same time, you're mad. But you're not mad at the person. You're mad at the system. You're mad at the system what has made it necessary for people to lay in the streets and not have proper food and not have proper... You become a revolutionary! See? You're going after the system. You're going to rip it down because people shouldn't be starving and little children should have this, and there shouldn't be children in Africa starving while they launch rockets. Let's march on... this is the way it is. So that's the way it works. And you'll see these people, they'll call them activists. Basically, if they're not trying for themselves because of their own ego or the desire to be recognized, they have this bodhisattva nature, which means I want to do something to make this right, even if I have to rip down the system which has made it wrong. Because the fact that they see this hurt in their bodhisattva nature makes them angry as hell. So that's a righteous anger. See, in Revelation, the 11th chapter, the 18th verse, you don't have to go there. It says, I should destroy them which destroy the earth. Well, it's not people that destroy the earth. It's the systems that destroy the earth. It's the systems that think it's more important to do rockets and guns than it is to feed starving children. That's something wrong with the system. It's a system that perpetuates itself. It's a system that can allow evangelists to come on television, with a hand in your pocket, saying that if you take out your Visa card, somebody in your family get healed, say. Give them the Visa card, and you'll get healed. And we get so so inundated with a desire to anything. Well, yes, they must be right. Yeah, I want to charge this to God on my MasterCard, please. God doesn't take carte blanche, does he? And we buy it. We do it. See? And that's the horrible part of that. But so God then, the power of God comes again. Let me show you something. Maybe you can understand what this is all about. The power, see, the Apostle Paul said there's only one power in the universe. Religion has said there's two, God and the devil. That's wrong. It's stupid. There's one power. That's why in the book of Isaiah it says God creates good and evil. Say, how could God create evil? Because the power that enters into you can be used either two ways. If it's used in the lower mind, it's going to hurt you. Is God hurting you because it's the same power used wrong, it hurts you. If it is used in the higher mind, it heals you. It just depends on you. Is this right? Is this right?
Yes.
Do you see? Let me explain this. Let me explain. You can have electricity, and it can light up everything so we can see. The same electricity can burn the building down. Can it? You can take a car, and you can drive Granny Swope to the store to get her victuals. You can use the same car to rob a bank. It's the same car. It's the power. It's not God. It's not the power. It's how you use the power. If you don't know what you're doing and you mess around with this electricity, you're going to burn the building down. If you do know what you're doing, you can light up the world. That's the thing. So there's only one power, and it can create evil if it's misused. Or it can create healing and good if it's used properly. That's all this is about. Once it gets inside of you, it depends on how you use it. And you don't know how to use it unless you listen to Krishna and Buddha and Jesus. They'll tell you how to use it. But what have we done? We've listened to people that say, oh, forget that. Just send me your money, and I'll send you a handkerchief. Would you really? But you know the funny part? Send him the money. Get the handkerchief. There was one guy, you sent him your old sock. Can you imagine? Is this nauseous? Send him your sock, and I don't know what God did. There's two up here. What he did with that, but he sent you his sock back. So Buddha teaches, now watch this, that any one of these 10 worlds or 10 aspects of the mind can affect another. And so what he called this was mutual possession. The personalities interact with one another, and you have mutual possession. See? Let's say, for instance, let's say that we have hunger. Okay, hunger is actually desire. So let's say we have hunger, and hunger exists in a person that is dominated by tranquility. Here. So we have the dominant is tranquility, but you have hunger existing as the second high. What's going to happen? What kind of a person you're going to have? Hunger, a desire to do things dominated by a person who is in tranquility. That person was going to long for something, but never have the action force to achieve it. You know? Do you ever get, gee, I wish I could, I don't know. I don't know. I just wish I was out of here. That's all. I hate the job. I just don't like anything. I mean, I don't know. I just wish something had happened. I just like to get on a train somewhere and go. And that's the person. The person is very tranquil, but has a desire to do something, but doesn't have the action force, the animal force, to accomplish it. So for that person's entire life, they will stand there saying, I don't know. You see them walking here. How you doing? Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, everything's fine. And everything's miserable. They feel miserable. They feel lousy inside, you know. And as soon as they get home, wow, they go into a rage or something like that. Because inside, all of the, most of the time they're not telling people, oh, I wish I could get out of here. I'd like to get on it. But they're telling themselves. Constantly speaking to yourself saying, man, I'd take the first freight out of town if I could get. Just give me an airplane. Better sometimes, Joan and I drive up, going up past Newark Airport, we see these Continentals taking off heading south to Key West. Get me on it, But that's okay, but if it becomes a constant thing, then you got this problem. So what you have the tranquility and you have the hunger. There's the two persons in the one. And which simply adds up to, I don't know, I wish I could, but I don't know. You know. And it never ends. And that's the reason. If you're that type of a person, Buddha said 3,000 years ago, the reason that you're that way is because you have a hunger aspect which is secondary to a tranquil type of aspect, and you're going to keep wishing and wishing and wishing for the rest of your life unless you lift yourself off into that higher realms of consciousness so you can overwhelm this. That's the way it's going to be. What about hunger? Here, let's take this one. The desire, okay, dominated by a person who is dominated by the animal nature. What happens then? Did you ever go to the department store? The big sale? I want those pantyhose! Give me that pantyhose! You know, they come crashing through the door. Did you ever see them? The guards can't hold, they're having a sale, the guards can't hold the door. These people desire to have this, and the animal nature is dominant, and nothing is going to stop them from having it. Give me those pantyhose! I saw them first, you know it! Happens all the time. Happens all the time. And yet you'll see the other person who has a desire to have them and is a tranquil nature, what happens? Keeps getting pushed back and back to the line. People move in front of you all the time, and somebody will say, why don't you say something? I don't want to. I know. And they're all laid out. Buddha laid them all out in a blueprint of the human mind and the human consciousness. However, what about tranquility dominated by that animal nature? In other words, the animal nature is dominant, but then second, strong tranquility. After you have gone in and battled with the people for the pantyhose, you've got them, you're in the car, you're driving home, you got Kitaro on, playing. Boy, I'll tell you, Andy's going to love these pantyhose. She's, you know. And then you get in there, you know, and she says, well, you were so thoughtful. It's, you know, and you sit there so tranquil, so loving. And you know, nobody knows you got scars on your arms from fighting with women for those damn pantyhose. See? So that's basically how some of those interact. What about, here's a good one, tranquility dominated by hell. Tranquility dominated by hell. Yes, I'm suffering. That's my fate. That's my life, and I'll just suffer. I was put here to suffer, so I'll suffer. I ain't gonna do nothing. I'll just be able to suffer. In hell constantly, doing absolutely nothing, till finally, I just give up. I just give up. I just give up. So what has happened? An extremely tranquil type of behavior, not getting mad at all, just lying back and letting hell just consume you, and absolutely feeling it throughout your whole life. So the 10 worlds, each of them have 9 worlds in them. And what then Buddha said is you have a total of 100 worlds. 100 various aspects circumventing and going around in the aspects of your mind, causing you to feel different at any given moment. Any of these can interrelate with one or the other. And each one of you has one that is very dominant. So, you know, what Buddha found out is how we move from one to the other so quickly. Look at the world of rapture. It's beautiful. Everything is wonderful. This is great. But the world of rapture also contains the world of hell. It contains the world of hell. Because one moment you're happy as a lark. You know, I'm really great, you know, hey, you know, everything is going terrific, and, you know, everything is going great, you know. Hey, you're down in Key West, or you're down in the Bahamas, and you're having a great time. You're in rapture. How can anything be more beautiful? So we play tiny, whiny, bump, bump, and you got your little margarita, and everybody's doing it, and then Joan calls home just to check how everything's going. When did that happen? When did what happen? You know, the cat got sick, or maybe you call from the Bahamas, and one of your kids got picked up for being in a stolen car with his friend. And I mean, all of a sudden, what happened to Tiny Whiny? What happened to the margarita? Everything is in hell. I gotta get a plane. If I can find, I want the next plane out of here. I gotta get out of here. You know, all of a sudden, the whole thing crashes down. Do it sometimes. You go today, you watch the football game. You watch the Super Bowl. It's so wonderful. Oh, the Super Bowl, I got my little glass. I got my little stuff. Everything is hotsy-totsy, and I'm having a great time. I don't care about nothing. And all of a sudden you remember that Thursday you got to be in court. Something happens here. Comes something here. Titans here, you know. You don't even know from the football what happened. You're thinking now, the court. He's back on the 30-yard line. He's going to give me 30 days. I can get 30 days for this. You know what I'm saying? That's the way it happened. And that's how all of these things interrelate. And they do. They work this way. And that's why, of course, Buddha taught meditation. There's no other way out of this. You've gone to church. How many times you've gone to church? You've gone to church all of your life. You've read all of the Bibles. You've listened to all of the sermons. You've sung all of the songs. That hasn't changed. Hasn't changed anything, has it? Still the same as it was right from the very beginning. Because you have to change it. It's that force that I told you about before. When it comes in, you'll either misuse it and it'll kill you, or you'll use it and it'll make things right. It's still the force of God. Doesn't make any difference. And that's what's important. But hell contains rapture. Everything is rotten. Everything is miserable. You know? You're down in your luck. You're out of a job. Everything has gone bad. You can't stand it. I got to get out of here. I can't stand anything. The kids, I can't stand. Oh, I can't stand anything. Life is miserable. The phone rings. Woohoo! What happened? I got the job. I got the job. I got the job and I got the money I want. All of a sudden, the hell with hell. Look at where I am. I'm in rapture. Ping. What happened? How come? All of a sudden, the spark, the light, something happened, and it went right through your system and changed it. Exactly. You know what? You know how you can see this? Sometimes you can see this physically happen. Sometimes when something happens, all of a sudden, you don't even have time to adjust. Your body adjusts. You get a flash. The adrenaline starts pumping. Everything starts, you know. If you get frightened, all of a sudden you shake. Sometimes, you know what you want to see? When you're driving down the parkway and you look up and there's the blue and red lights before you, your whole body changes. You know, the whole thing changes inside. And it doesn't require you. It changes automatically. And this is what Buddha's trying to say. These things are automatic, not something you can do anything about. And the reason that you have a predominance to one of these worlds is because what was put into you as a child. If that child we dedicated this morning is subjected to a constant bombardment, which he will not be by his parents, but if he was, he will develop one of these negative aspects in his life, and it will grow and fester in him just as much as a sore or a cancer will. And it will cause him a lot of trouble. Thank God that won't happen. So Buddha shows us that any moment that you can have the possibility of the next moment moving into an entire different kind of life. You know, people that are changeable. We all know, and I can be that way. Hard to believe, but I can. All of a sudden, and they call it, what do they call it? You go from the animal, you go up, you go down, you go to rapture or hell, you get to a psychiatrist, they call it irrational behavior, of which everybody is. Who is irrational? Everybody. It's irrational behavior because you're constantly fending off things that come from the outside, and they're changing these worlds inside of you. Look. Here's two of the highest. Let me show you something interesting here. This is why I'm saying to you, meditation is the only experience. Reading the Bible won't do it. Studying under a pastor won't do it. Studying under an evangelist won't do it. Going to college won't do it. Getting a degree won't do it. Here's, of the Four Noble Paths that Buddha outlined, learning and realization are of the top four. Do you know what? Do you know that psychiatrists know more about the human mind and how it works and its pitfalls than any people in the world? And do you know that the highest cases of suicide among any group are psychiatrists? Why? What does it mean? It means that though they have learning and realization, Buddha tried to show them, yes, you have learning and realization, but beware, because in that learning and realization also dwells hell. Huh? And so the capacity for suffering cannot be eradicated by knowledge. You got to write that one down. That's what he said. Your capacity for suffering cannot be eradicated by knowledge. It has to be eradicated by spirit. And only through meditation can that happen. Only through meditation can that happen. That's what Jesus says. They look and look, but they don't see. They listen and listen, but they don't understand. Until this day, that's the way it is. I get threatening calls. I get threatening calls from people who, on the telephone, in the name of Jesus. You will not be around much longer. In Jesus' name. You know, what is this? You know, what was the one a couple of weeks ago? The blood of Jesus is upon you, and you will be silenced soon. Jesus Christ, who said, love and turn you, you know, what is this? But when you hear these people who confess Jesus in this way, from reading briefly and not understanding, what it really is, these people are cultists. It sounds satanic. You don't hear this, hey, you know, I don't agree, but, you know, okay, but it's one way of thinking about it. I think you're off. It's, you're going to hell, you're going to die, going to kill you, and all this kind of stuff. What about that? So this really presents some very interesting ideas concerning all this. Now let me ask you a question. We talked about going from hell to rapture, you know, going from misery to something joyful. Let's just say, let me ask you a question. See, and this is what Buddha studied and came up with. When you are in hell, where is rapture? Where is it? I mean, like we said, you know, if we got a scientist or a renowned surgeon in here, and he took your brain out, put it on a table, and opened it up and looked in it, he wouldn't find one idea. Not one idea. He wouldn't find one dream. He wouldn't find one fear. He wouldn't find one hope. He wouldn't find one bit of love. It's all just stuff. Where the heck is it? When you're in hell, where does it go? What happens to it? You know, in other words, some of you, you know, don't raise your hand, but there are many of you in here who have a very nasty temper. You don't have to raise your hand, they laugh, man. Where is it? Look at how calm you are. You're sitting here, nothing's happening. You look very nice, very quiet, very calm. Buddha said, and this is something you may want to learn because it's a very important part of his teachings. These things are in a place that neither exists nor non-exists, and Buddha called it the state of ku. Ku. It's neither existence nor non-existence. It's the state of ku. So how can it be? Well, what? You get angry. But generally it takes something to cause you to get angry. There is something that stimulates you to cause you to lose your temper, and when you lose your temper, you become a different person than you are now. You are sitting here watching me, and you, when you lose your temper, are a completely different person. One aspect of your brain shuts down, another one takes over, and you cease to be the person you are now. And you can look at me, you got Bibles, and you're writing all of this stuff, and I'm up here with my blue suit on, and I got a big Bible, and I'm doing all of these things. But when a different aspect comes to life within us, we cease to be the person that we are now. We become something totally different. And Buddha says that energy, that thing which is very much alive, has come out of ku because it has been stimulated. It has been stimulated. See? Over there in the sound room, there's audio tapes. Where's the music? If you take the audio tape and you shake it, nothing happens. You can kick it, you can throw it, there'll be no music. But if you put it on the machine and the conditions are just right and the movement is just the exact speed and the necessary electronics are there to project the sound, suddenly this thing, which is nothing but a piece of metal or a piece of plastic, bursts forth with magnificent, glorious celestial sounds. Where's the music? It's in ku. It's waiting for the right condition to happen so it can come forth. See, you know the temper you have, you know the way you feel, and you know that right now you're not experiencing that. But you know that if given the right circumstances, it'll come back in a flash. So it's not that it doesn't exist. It's not in existence right now, but it is in existence. So it's hiding somewhere, and it lies dormant in what Buddha called the state of ku. Okay? So If your anger is in a state of coup, it exists somewhere, yet there's no way to confirm it unless you get angry. And as soon as you get angry, then you'll do it. What about memories? Well, let me show you something. Memories, all of your memories are in a state of coup. Watch, I'll prove it. Just think for a second. Think of a house that you lived in when you were a child. Where'd it come from? Where did that come from? Where was that? 5 minutes ago, it wasn't there. All of a sudden, somebody stimulated and said, where did it come? And now you saw the house. Do another one. Just close your eyes for a minute and just hear your mother's voice inside of you. Where did it come from? And yet you can hear, you can hear the pitch, you can hear the tone, you can hear her as if she was standing there. I could tell you to do the same thing with Elvis Presley. You could hear him singing Hound Dog or whatever. You could do, where does it come from? It's all stored, but Buddha says it's in coup. It's not that it doesn't exist. It exists, but yet it doesn't exist. Because if the surgeon came, he couldn't find your mother's voice in there. Where is it? Oh, I heard it in there, but it's not in there. Where's the picture of the house that you just saw that you lived in? It's not in there. I'm saying pictures of the house. Where's the pictures? Must be over here. No pictures. Where are they? But yet they're there, aren't they? It's all in coup. You see the brilliance of a man that you've allowed Christianity to tell you is evil and a threat to you? Sick. This is how Buddha described it. And I loved it. He used a cherry blossom, which I guess was consistent to her. And he said, if you come, you know, for instance, that the cherry blossoms are very pretty. But if you have never seen a tree, and you come in the wintertime, your senses will tell you the tree is dead. On the other hand, I say, oh, no. As soon as the time is right, there'll be beautiful blossoms, cherry blossoms. So what do? I go away. You break the branch off, look inside. Where are they? Where's the cherry blossoms? I've looked inside the branch. There's no blossoms. There's no flowers. Where are they? But as soon as the conditions are right and the stimulation comes, filled with cherry blossoms. As soon as the conditions are right and the stimulation comes, you will be filled with either anger, desire, the animal, whatever it is. As soon as the conditions are right. And so it proves that as it is without, so it is within. So all of the universe, so all of nature is the same, and you are part of it, and what blossoms in you is the same that blossoms outside. It's all the same. The flowers don't exist, yet they do. And it's an important theory because it gives you an understanding why anybody can all of a sudden go from one situation to another. It depends on the stimulation and when the time is right. Isaiah put it this way. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. How come? Why? Because in you, in the state of coup, is that which we call Christ, is that which we call God, is that which we call power, waiting for you to stimulate that. And as you give it that stimulation, the conditions exist, and out of coup comes that which is God consciousness. And it bursts forth like a cherry blossom. And what you thought the inner was dead suddenly bursts forth into life and color. That's the whole thing. That's why Jesus Christ said the kingdom of God is within you, but it's in coup. You don't know it's there. It's in coup. It's waiting for the stimulus in the same way that the trees around us now are waiting for the spring to stimulate that which is within inside of them to burst forth. The entire theory culminates in the fact that the world of hell also includes the world of Buddhahood, which is Christ consciousness. No matter how much you're suffering, no matter how old you are, at the very next moment, you can reveal the highest pinnacle of your life. That's the story of Abraham and Sarah. That's why the Apostle Paul says it's an allegory. Doesn't mean an old lady, 90 or 100 years old, had a baby. If this God did this to this lady, he's a fakakta, and he shouldn't be allowed to be God no more. Who wants to be 90, going to have a baby? Can you imagine even this? Who is the midwife or the wet nurse or what is this? It doesn't mean that. It means that no matter how old or barren you are, like that tree, at the very next moment you can give birth to color and life and blessings and blossom. deeper, right? So I think the important part of it is that what underlines here is that this is not a Superman, it's all you. It's an ordinary human being experienced, although albeit an enlightened one, because Jesus Christ is just like you. So better write that down about Ku. And you'll remember. I'll give you a little tip on this. When the thing explodes and comes forth into life, Buddha said it's in Ki. Yeah, Ki. K-E. So the next time, you see how nice you are? If you get into a raucous battle with your mate a little later, you'll know that in Ku, this thing was stirring, waiting to explode into Ki, and instead of saying Ku, you'll say, oh, Ki, here we are. See, what he said is this. See, this is what happens. You get a situation where you get near some people, and they just, geez, every time this person gets, they stir up all this crap. And I was all right till this person gets stir. You always got to stir up this crap. And now look at me. My face is red. I got veins sticking out. You know, I get headache. I get nauseous, and I'm concocted with this is going bad. I can't see because you. Why are you stirring this up all the time? Buddha said, no. If there is sediment in the bottom of your cup, then when cup is stirred, clean water becomes dirty. If you take sediment out of cup, stir all day, water stay clean. The only reason that you've gotten fakakta, because they stirred something up, is because you had too much sediment at the bottom of the cup in here. But as you, through meditation, purge the sediment out, it's all clean, and they can stir all day long. And you're going to say, Ku you. Ku you. Right, Joe? Thank you for sharing the principles of the 10 worlds of Buddha with me today. And it's a good time. It gets better. It really gets better. When you're finished with this tape, send it right on to the next person. There's a card you send back to Mary. Also, if you would, there's a route sheet. Put that into the box when you send the tape so the next person will know where to send the tape to. Was that you? Come up here. Come on. Come on. Would you like to tell everybody, and what you didn't record this, did you?
Oh, yes, I did.
For posterity.
Yes.
You think it was okay?
Oh, it was excellent.
It was excellent.
Deep.
Deep stuff.
Cool.
Cool to you. Cool. That's great. And whatever you can do, if you can help with the monthly envelope, we send out a monthly envelope with Hidden Meanings teachings in it. And if you will put some, ask for the monthly envelope each month, we'll send it to you. Put whatever you can in. That helps to pay for all the tapes and all the stuff that we have. Who? Yeah, that's angels are in the front row. The invisible. What? Are we on? We're on. Welcome to the Christian Village Church, and we're here tonight to share with you something very strange. Everything else in here is pretty strange, but this here is one. I hope that's the way you spell it. Ascension of the Buddha. The ascension of the Buddha. Now this is a cosmic journey, and one that is particularly fascinating, and one that would be very difficult for the average Christian mainline person to accept, because very few people knew that there was such a thing as the ascension of the Buddha. They felt, Jesus ascended and he was the only one, but this happened 1,000 years before Jesus was born, see? So let us go now and see how this ascension takes place on Shakyamuni Buddha. And remember, as you look at this in the same light that you look at the ascension of Jesus, actually it's the ascension of you. Basically, all this stuff is the ascension of you, the resurrection of you, the crucifixion of you, the eternal life of you, sitting at the right hand of the Father of you, and all of this stuff. But this is the basis that Shakyamuni Buddha, when he became enlightened, found out. Now, what is happening in here? This is what he found out, and Here was his understanding and what he had to teach and share with the world. The basis of everything is that all things are without a self. Everyone is extinct. No one exists. Okay? That's where he was at. When he became enlightened, that's where he was at. When he then took this a step further, the Enlightenment said that because everybody is ignorant of this, leads to the ideas that are without understanding, and since there is no understanding, there is pain. It becomes a little more complex. So he learned if suffering beings would only quit their ego notion, their obsession with the physical self, then they would know and experience the fact there is no suffering person anywhere. There is no suffering person anywhere because there are no people everywhere. Everybody is extinct. Okay? That was the basis of his wisdom. And what did he say when he became enlightened and heard this? He said, who can hear this? How can I teach such a wisdom? Who can hear this? Who can hear such a thing? Okay. Remember what I said to you, and I'm sure it entered one ear, ran around in the middle, didn't quite make it out the other ear, and said, what the heck is he talking about? You know, how can there be no suffering? How can everybody be extinct if everybody is? And yet, how can all of this possibly be? So Buddha himself said, quote, who can hear this? How shall I teach such a wisdom as this? I want you to go to page 95 in those little Bibles. Go to John and the book of John chapter 6. Okay? The book of John chapter 6. When Jesus had been teaching and sharing with the people who had come to listen to him, what they said in John chapter 6, it's on page 95 in those little Bibles in the New Testament. John chapter 6, page verse 60. When they had heard Jesus, many therefore of his disciples, when they had heard this, said, this is a hard saying. Who can hear it? Who can hear? Who can deal with this? Because Jesus had said to them, look, in order for you to reach this salvation point, what you must do is eat my flesh and drink my blood. And they said, what the heck is this guy talking about? What is he? He's a cult leader. What is he? Some kind of masochist? What are we going to do with this? Eat his blood, drink it? So they all left. In the same way, Buddha learns the reality that everything is without a self. Everyone is extinct. There is nobody existing, so there cannot be any suffering. So he says, who can hear this? But what this means simply is this. Spiritual things are actually unteachable. You should write that down because that's very, very important because you sit and follow a lot of people who are trying to teach you about spirit. Spiritual things are unteachable. You can't learn it. You can't read it out of a book. You can't hear it from a pulpit. No matter what you do, no matter how many books or documents you take, all that can be taught, and this is what Shakyamuni Buddha reached to that point, all that can be taught are the ways that lead from the various points of human ego to the divine essence. That's what Shakyamuni Buddha said. I cannot teach this because it's unteachable, but I can teach how to arrive at that place. And so that's what he did. So in other words, what's being said here is that what you didn't understand and I didn't understand in the beginning of this thing, how could those things which exist not exist and everything, there's no suffering, how can that possibly be? When you enter into that right hemisphere of the brain, that which is the ultimate celestial divine truth becomes apparent. And you'll understand. You'll understand. But you're understanding from a spiritual plane. You can't understand this from an intellectual plane. It's impossible to understand this from an intellectual plane. It's like when Albert says to you, as a physicist, you take 2 ounces of one thing and 2 ounces of another thing, and you mix them together and you get 3.6 ounces or whatever. Well, how come you don't get 4? Why don't you get 4? If you put 2 ounces of this and 2 ounces, how come you don't get 4? But you don't. Is that right? What is it that you mix?
You just take alcohol and water. You put two of one, 2 of the other, and you get 4.9 something.
Okay, 3.9 something. Whatever it is, you don't get 4 ounces. So that's impossible. But when physicists learned this, you know what they had to do? They had to develop a new set of mathematics in order to deal with this, because the old set of mathematics doesn't deal with it. 2 and 2 do not necessarily make 4. And so in the same way, Jesus Christ came to the point, he said, narrow is the way that leads to life, and few there be who find it. Yet you've got millions of people running around saying, I have found the answer, I'm saved, I know this, I know that, and I know the other thing. Yet if you go and take yourself into the deep aspects of what this is about, the ascension, the understanding of things, you find out you know nothing. You cannot know anything. It's impossible for you to know anything. I was reading in Joseph Campbell, and Joseph Campbell said that to learn the ways is not enough. To see the way is not enough. Even to sit in meditation is not enough. Only when you begin that passageway into the soul, who is nowhere, then that's enough. Listen to that. Only when you find that passageway into the soul, who is nowhere, then is enough, because you become the answer. You become part of the answer by allowing yourself to go into that place which is nowhere, which is non-existent to the mind, but yet which is existent. We were talking this morning, to give you an idea, maybe this would be easy for you to understand. We were talking this morning in Buddhist teachings of, for instance, some of you sitting in here have a temper. You may have a violent temper. And yet, right now, you're sitting here so calm, so collected. You're just ease. Everything is not. Where is that temper? Where is it? Buddha says it's in a place called Ku. It exists, but it doesn't exist. See? Where is it? As soon as the stimulus touches you and the conditions are right, bang, there it is. And you change from the person you are now into the person you will be when this temper of yours comes out of Ku. When something stimulates it and makes it appear, you will become a different person. So here's something that exists yet doesn't exist. You know you have a temper. You know what happens to you and the type of person you become when you lose your temper. Yet right now, you haven't lost your temper, so it doesn't exist. Watch, though, in the coming weeks, something will occur. And you'll freak. This thing will be there. It'll come right out of, it's lodged deep within. It's like your memories. Where are your memories? If I say to you, remember a house you lived in when you were a little child. Just think of that. Immediately you can think of a house that you lived in when you were a little child. Where is that? Where was that lodged? Where did that come from? It's in this place. It's in a place called Ku. It exists yet it doesn't exist. And so these things become complex to us when we try to figure them out intellectually, yet if you think instantly, oh yeah, I remember the house, where? Instantly you can do it, yet you can't analyze or understand where it is, where it comes from, where it goes, when it's not there. So when you reach the place here, where Shakyamuni Buddha said you must go, Shakyamuni Buddha said, oh, you want me to become a Buddhist? And Buddha said, I want you to go to the place where there is no Buddha. When you reach the place where there is no Buddha, then you have reached nirvana. And Jesus, the same thing. When you reach the place where there is no Christ, because then you become one with that which is all. Then you become one with that which is universal, that which is celestial, that which is global, that which is the magnificence of all things. You become one with all things. And when you reach that center, you reach the same center that I reach, and both of us become one, because both of us are the same person at that point. Because there is no difference in the center. All of it is the same. The beauty of this merging takes place then in the ascension of Buddha. And how does it start? It starts with the gods in the heavens strewing flowers. The entire heavens, all of the sky, the universe, as many as there are stars, flowers start falling down throughout the entire sky, all over the place. And this Buddha, Shakyamuni, is sitting on a throne. And this throne is described as 7 times the height of a palm tree. Huh? Can you imagine it? He's sitting on this throne. The throne is 7 times the height of a palm tree. And flowers are falling throughout the entire universe. This is really a cosmic journey. But what is this? Is your rapture, see? This is your rapture. This is what happens to you. This is what happens to me. This is the ascension of Jesus. This is the ascension of all things. See, because it then becomes no longer I who live, no longer you who live, but the Christ who lives within you. And Buddha's rapture and Christ's rapture, their ascension is your ascension. So what is it about? Well, The flowers that are being strewn through the heavens are those qualities which bloom into newness of life and in the many colors of the chakras. That which is color, that which is the blooming of life, that which is the new things, the things that burst forth into life at the time of the spring equinox. Flowers bloom at the time of the spring equinox when the sun consumes the land, when the burnt offering takes place, and the sun sits at the right side, when the sun sits at the eastern sky in the northern hemisphere, when the sun within you sits at the right hemisphere of the brain, then that which is flowers within you start to bloom and your ascension time is ready. Don't you understand? Do you know when you meditate and you raise the energy up past those 7 chakras and you consume the pineal gland of the brain, you sit at the right-hand side, and then everything, all of the color starts to come back to your life. Everything which was dead in the winter of your soul starts to come back to life. And that's what they are, and they give form the essence, the perfume, which is the sweetness of God, the sweetness of Christ within you. And those are qualities that come from the sky, which is the higher mind, the higher consciousness, that which is the place of ascension. So Buddha is seated on a throne. Now I want to show you something. And that's important. So we have the flowers, we have the sky, and we have the throne of which he's seated on. If you look in page 621 of the Old Testament in Isaiah 66, okay, and just stick your finger in there as you look at it because I want to show you something, okay. Now this is why it's important for you to understand. Because if Buddha flew up in a spaceship, what does it mean to you? It's not going to pay your rent. It's not going to pay the doctor. It's not going to put food on your table. If Jesus flew through the air like the man on a flying trapeze, it's going to mean nothing. If you got a ticket, all of these things have to come down to impact on you. They have to be relevant to you, or it's another fairy tale. I mean, we can portray the story by Walt Disney, but it's not going to mean anything to you unless it's essential. Okay, so let's take a look. Isaiah 66. Here we have Buddha sitting on a throne, okay? Isaiah 66, thus said the Lord, the heaven is my throne, and the earth is my throne. Heaven, where's his throne? Heaven is my throne. That's God's kingdom. That's where God lives. God lives in heaven, you see. This throne is God's heavenly abode. Now put your finger right in there, say, look at this again. Heaven is my throne. The kingdom of God is heaven. Go to page 77 in the New Testament, in the book of Luke. Okay? Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Luke chapter 17. And I want to show you something. Heaven is my throne, says the Scripture. Okay. That's God's residence. That's God's kingdom. The kingdom where God dwells is heaven. Luke 17, verse 21. Jesus Christ says, neither shall they say here or there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. Heaven is not up in the sky. Heaven is within you. What I shared with the people this morning, I want to share with you, if you would listen to this with me, okay? Because it's important because some of you were not here this morning. In the Bible, the Apostle Paul said there is only one power. There are not 2 powers. Christianity teaches you there's a devil power and there's a God power. To that you say, there is not 2 powers. There's one power. You create this devil power, it doesn't exist. There is one power. In the book of Isaiah, God says, I create good, I create evil. How can God create evil? Because that power, which is the universal power of God, when it is misused by you, can kill you and make you sick. What am I talking about? There's electricity. If you know what you're doing, you can use electricity and light up the building. If you mess with it and you don't know what you're doing, you can burn the building down. Because you don't know what you're doing. You're touching that one power, and because you don't know how to use it, it becomes destructive. When you learn how to use it, it becomes magnificent. You take a car, you can take Aunt Fanny to the grocery store, you can visit the sick, you can use that same car to rob a bank. It's the same car. But it's used differently. It depends how you use it. That's the whole purpose of this stuff. That's the purpose of Jesus. It's the purpose of Krishna and Buddha, is to tell you you've got a power coming to you, which is a God power. If you don't handle it right, you're going to get hurt. If you handle it right, you're going to go flying up into the essence of that which is God. You can become one with God if you'll handle that power right, but you can get in trouble if you don't. That's why God says, I create good, I create evil. You've got to understand what to do with the power. You've got to understand how to handle the power. You cannot handle electricity if you don't know what it's for or how to do it. You're going to hurt people. And the power that enters into you from the universe, the power of God, is exactly the same thing. That's why these people came and died, to show you how to handle the power. But instead, what have we listened to? Religious people that come, send me money. Give me your credit card. Say these prayers. Sing these songs. And you sing songs written in the 1400s. Amazing grace, nearer, my God. I can't wait to go to Jordan. Oh, I'm heading over to the promised land. Whoa, God, I want to be with you tonight. Whoa, here I come, ready or not. Okay, Charlie, you're going to die tomorrow. No, I don't want. Go into the church. Go into the church where they sing all of these things that they can't wait to get to God, and say, look, how would you like to make a deal? Let's make a deal. Here's the deal. You can stay with your family, you know, where you are now, Forked River, wherever you live, or you can drop dead and go to heaven and be with Jesus tomorrow. Hey, let's make a deal. You know how fast you'll learn how much bull this is? You won't have any takers. Nobody will line up to get on the glory train. I'm heading for the glory train. Yeah, you got to die to go there. And all of a sudden, this desire to be with Jesus. Now, I'll stay with Ethel. Later, you know. Tell Jesus I'll be up. I gotta go to the supermarket. I can't today, but I want to go, but not today, because, you know, I got a cold and everything, and I don't know about the altitude. I'll get all disheveled up there. If it was normal for you to want to go to heaven tomorrow, then your instinct would say, I'll fly away. And you would, just like the goose. But it's not. And your instinct says, get away. I'll stay. Right here in my little grubby Forked River. You go to heaven. Tell Mom I said hello. I'll stay here. And that's the way it is. That's the way it is. It's not true. And your instinct tells you it's not true. And everybody knows it's not true. So your passageway then is to be one with the eternal cosmic God right here on earth. And to take that which is the wonder of it all while you're alive, and to stay alive forever. What is the admonition? You must be born again. And again, and again, and again, and again. Forever. Great. Great. You get opportunities to try it all. Do it all. Karma has a way of straightening us out. Like I've told people, in fact, the folks today, the black folks down here, they got a big kick out of it, because I said anybody who's a member of a Ku Klux Klan this time around, you can bet in their next life they'll wake up in the arms of a big black mama. How you know, sonny boy? Well, we're going to straighten your little you-know-what out. And all of a sudden, you don't hate black people anymore, do you? Because you is one now. Okay. And the same thing if you're black and you don't like the whiteys. You'll wind up born to some redneck in Alabama, and there you go. And I can guarantee you, if you're proud to be Irish, you'll wind up being born in Tel Aviv next time at a little yarmulke. Well, I'll tell you, this is my little baby. I think, what do you think? Isn't he so cute? You were singing Irish, eyes were smiling, don't you? Oh, I'm so proud to be Irish. And Finnegan's to him, and all of these things. It's big, oh, it's so nice to be Irish. Come from County Killarney. I don't want to know nothing about nothing. I'm just proud to be Irish. My mommy was Irish, my granny was Irish, I'm Irish as Paddy's pig. And you wake up and you're born to a little yarmulke in Tel Aviv. Here, your next birth. And the first word you learn, well, I'll tell you. Well, I don't know. It's the way it is. That's karma. It's got a way of turning things. You feel, you know, you get everything straightened out. Huh? Isn't that great? This is great. It's the way we figure it all out. We get to experience everything. And that's terrific. And that's what this is all about. That's why he says you can't learn it in a book. You got to learn it through an experience. You got to have an experience with God. And when you reach the place in nirvana within you where there is no Buddha, there is no Christ, voila, you become Buddha. Voila, you become Christ. Voila, you become God. Because where there is none of you in thought, there is only God. Once you have turned the thoughts of your mind off, all that exists is God. And this is the rapture. This is the ascension. And so we learn the Buddha quality rises within you in the same way as the Christian quality of Jesus Christ rises within you. And you know what happens to him? This is good. I want to show you this. What happens? Look at this. Getting excited here. This is good stuff. I hate to quit this stuff. But you know what happens? He rises in the ascension into the air. Ah, great. Great, great. Now, let me show you a little bit about that. That comes out of the Greek 5 stages of consciousness. The first stage of consciousness in Greek is earth. The second is water. The third is air. The fourth is fire. And the fifth is the new mind. Okay? So this here, basically, is your third heaven. When you rise up into the air, that means raising yourself up into the third stage of consciousness above the realm of thought. Then you have risen up into the air. That's why the terminology call you an airhead, because there's nothing there. When you rise into the third stage of consciousness, there are no thoughts. Can you see that? Okay? This is very, very important if you're going to understand. This is baptism. Baptism has nothing to do with going into real water. That's why in Hebrews 6:1 the Apostle Paul said, leaving the principles of the doctrines of Christ, let's go on to perfection. Forget baptism. Why? Because after you did this and you got your head stuck in a creek, you should learn that baptism means taking the earth, which is your mind, into the water, which means the truth, rising out of the truth into the air, which is the third stage of consciousness, which then sets you up to be baptized by the Holy Spirit, or fire, which is the fourth stage of consciousness. It's in here the baptism takes place, not outside, obviously. Okay? So let's take a look then, and I want to show you something because it's interesting. And let's do a little Bible hopping real quick. And page 190 in your little Bibles, and the rest of you, you go into a book called First Thessalonians. First Thessalonians, and chapter 4, page 190. Try to spin off of it pretty quick. I'm giving you the page number so that we can move along because I don't like to do a lot of Bible jumping, but I'm trying to show you about Buddha rising into the air. I'm trying to show you about Jesus rising into the air, and I'm trying to show you about you rising into the air. First Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 17. Okay? Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, so shall we ever be with the Lord. The clouds are the unseen spirit. That's why Moses always had to go into the clouds to visit God. When you go into the unseen spirit and you rise up into the air, you are rising up into the third stage of consciousness, which is only reachable through meditation. Okay? You rise to meet Jesus in the air. Now, let us go here and I'll show you. Do you see how this is the third stage of consciousness? Okay. Let's go to page 296 in your little Bibles in the Old Testament, 1 Kings chapter 6. Now, you people at home, you should also have a King James Bible so that you can follow this and see what we're doing. I can't guarantee you'll be the same page number that I give on these folks here, but you should be able to see it. 1 Kings chapter 6 and verse 7. It's talking about the construction of the temple. Okay, you with me? And when it was in building, that's the temple, it was made of stone, brought ready before it was bought, so there was neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was building. The temple is built in silence. That's what that's saying. They built it with no sound of construction. Your temple must be built in silence. That means you shut up. You stay within yourself and you listen. No sound for the construction of the temple. Now look at 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 7. You did verse 8. The door for the middle chamber, that's the holy place, was in the right side of the house. That's talking about the right hemisphere of the brain. And they went up with winding stairs, which is the movement of Kundalini, and that winding affects like the Caduceus, into the middle chamber, which is the holy place, and out of the middle chamber into the third. Okay, it's exactly what it's talking about. As you raise yourself into the right hemisphere of the brain through the action of the Kundalini, it takes you up into the third stage of consciousness, which is the air. That's rising to meet the Lord in the air. One other thing, if you have a minute, page 173 in the New Testament, go to 2 Corinthians. Okay, 2 Corinthians. And let me show you this. In 2 Corinthians, page 173 in your New Testament, 2 Corinthians chapter 12. All right? So you can see with yourself. I mean, I've got the time. I'm not going to rush through the doggone thing and say, I tell you that this is true, because that's meaningless. I want you to see it in that book, and I want you to be able to say, here it is. He showed it to me. I saw it with my own eyes. You've seen this. You're rising into the air. You see it's the third stage, that in the construction of the temple, those winding stairs take you up into the right hemisphere, up to the third. Look at in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Here is where the Apostle Paul had an out-of-body experience, okay? I know, 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2. I know a man in Christ about 14 years ago, whether in the body I cannot tell, or out of the body I cannot tell, God knows. Such a one was caught up to the third heaven. Okay, that's right. That's exactly what he's talking about. Above that which is the thought of the mind, into the air. Okay? Now, what are you talking about? He had an out-of-body experience. What are you talking? Everybody has told you this is bad. You shouldn't have an out-of-body experience. Everyone has told you this is cultist, that you shouldn't have an out-of-body experience. You know what? You should have. If it is God, and if it's the Spirit's will, you have whatever you have, and just joyfully take it and accept it. Why do I say such a thing? You're in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2. Go back a little bit to 2 Corinthians chapter 5. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, it's on page 169. It's only a couple of pages back from you are. You want to read it with me? 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 8. What's the Apostle Paul says? For we are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and be present with the Lord. See it? Oh. See it? Is it in the book? Is it in the book? Does it say when you're absent with the body, for the body, you're present with the Lord? Doesn't it say the Apostle Paul said, I think I had an out-of-body experience, and he went up into the third heaven. He was risen. He was taken up into that place of air, which is the third stage of consciousness, where you rise to meet Jesus in the air. Do you know that today, Christians, you go into these bookstores, you can see postcards, they honestly think they're going to be catapulted out of cars, right through car roofs, right through building roofs, and go shooting up into the sky. They honestly believe that. It's a physical thing. They're going to. If you were on a plane going to Key West and you would see them shooting right by. Oh, there goes my. There goes. Like, oh, you're going to just shoot me down. What happens if you get shot up and you hit a 747? Who's going to be responsible for that? Nobody ever thinks of these things, but they're important. But you understand what I'm talking about? And I'm showing you in the Bible. For God's sakes, you don't have to be a nuclear scientist to see what's in there. I've showed it to you. Okay, and you've seen it. So we see the Buddha rising to the air. Now notice something about Buddha rising into the air. It was 7 times higher than a palm tree. Isn't that interesting? 7 times higher than a palm tree. Well, the number 7 means divine intervention. The number 7 is the kind of biblical lucky number because they only knew of 7 planets at that time. That's why you have 7 days in the week. If they knew there were 2 other planets out there, you'd have 9 days in the week. I'm telling you that right now. That's exactly true. And incidentally, all of your weekdays are named after the constellations. Moon Day, Sun Day, Saturn Day, and the others are Germanic. And if you look up Twiggy, Fwiggy, and all the rest of them, it comes out to be all the other constellations. But it is. Okay? Now, that's why you have 12 months in the year, because of the 12 signs of the zodiac. It's the reason. This whole thing is what I'm not into that astrology. The whole thing's astrology. How can you get away from it? I don't believe in that. Well, then, what are you going to do? Have 13 months in the year? Huh? You're going to have 6 days in a week? You got 7 days in a week because of the 7 constellations. You got 12 months in the year because of the 12 signs of the zodiac. And then, I don't believe in this. I don't believe in this astrology stuff. The first page of the Bible. What's it say in the first page? What's your first name? Susan. Put Susan on television. Would you like to be on television all over the country, Susan? Sure she does. I'm going to let you read it yourself. And look what it says. It talks about the stars in the sky. It says, what does it say?
Where are we?
Right here. What does it say about the stars? And let them
be for signs and for seasons and for days of the year.
Let them be for signs. Well then, if it says in the first page of the book the stars are for signs, wouldn't you think you should find out what the signs mean? That's astrology. Psalm 147 says God named all the stars. If he named all the stars, wouldn't you think you'd want to find out why he called them what he did? That's astrology. Job 38:32 says, can you bind the sweet influence of the Pleiades? I'm not talking about fortune telling, Madame Marie on the board. What are you talking about science here? But anyhow, so here we go, 7 times higher than a palm tree. Wow. Palm trees are divine truth. You know why palm trees are divine truth? They only take water deep from the center. They don't take water from the outside. They take water from the inside. And though they bend in the storm, they don't break. And when the storm abates, boom, they stand straight. That's mystical significance of palm trees. But there's something a little more about palm trees. In the temple entrance, and if you look at page 714, in your Old Testament in the book of Ezekiel, you've been good tonight because we've done a lot of, we don't usually do this much jumping around in, biblical jumping around, but you got to see it or it's not. It doesn't make any sense if I say it's there. Okay? In the chapter Ezekiel, I want you to show you the temple construction as Ezekiel shows it. Ezekiel chapter 40 and verse 26. Going into the temple, what does it say? And there were 7 steps to go up to it. And the arches therefore were before them. And it had palm trees, one on this side and another on that. Okay? And that's that same symbol that is being used in the Buddhic principle of the palm tree. It's the same description you'll see in Zechariah, where it's about the candlestick and the 7 lamps with the 2 olive trees, which is what they call that is, it's called in metaphysics Ida and Pingala. It's the back and forth flow, the involution and evolution of the blood and all of this kind of business, which we'll get into in another time. But what those palm trees signify, and you'll carry it through your entire Bible, the palm trees signify the 2 thieves, one on each side of the cross that were crucified with Jesus, the 2 witnesses of Revelation. And palm tree has that significance of being that which stands and takes deep from the water within and bends not in the storm. But when you sit on the throne, as Buddha was trying to convey in this message, you sit 7 times higher than a palm tree, because you take from that which is the celestial fountain, the celestial water, that which is the cosmic universe. And all of this stuff sounds like religious hocus pocus. It means sit on your rear end, kick your shoes off, say Om, and go. All of the stuff I said tonight, you have to know nothing of it in order to get there. All you have to do is do it. Do it. It's like, as I've said over and over again, you can go next door to the Chinese restaurant over here and read the menu all you want. But you got to eat the food. You got to take it in with you. You got to experience this stuff in order to do it. It will work on you. I don't care if you've never read a Bible. I don't care if you know nothing about this. You don't know what the heck you're doing. If you discipline yourself, you sit on that floor, you enter within yourself and raise your consciousness upward, it'll happen. You don't have, do you go down to the beach? How many of you ever go to the beach? Not one. You go to the beach, raise your hand. When do you go to the beach? Now, when you go to the beach, do you go down and say, excuse me, son? Just want to ask you, how do you do this? I mean, what denomination, are you saved? I mean, where do you come from? What do you do? You don't care. Do you realize that that sun that's going to give you that tan is the same sun that tans Saddam Hussein? Did you know that? Did you know that that's the same sun that would tan, the Ayatollah or all these people you're not supposed to like? It doesn't differentiate. What do you? You go down, you expose yourself to it. Same thing here. This happens. So Buddha is risen into the air of no thought. Okay. Filled with divine intervention, above the involution and evolution of life, just like you, just like Jesus. That's the ascension of Jesus. And what this is for is because it takes you to a very important place. And that is one we taught of a couple of weeks ago, Bodhisattva. It takes you to Bodhisattva. You know, a young lady asked a question last week. Some people talked about, why all the symbols? Why not just come out and tell everybody? Because you cannot take this. It cannot be given to you. You cannot touch it until you've gone through the purging of meditation and all the ego, all the selfishness, all the desire for you to have is purged away. Then when those doors at the right side swing open and you are given this treasure, it will be used bodhisattva. It will be used for the good of all. It will be used for the good of nature. It will be good for the use of the animals and the children. It will be good for Mother Earth. It will not be used for you. But, see, if that's not the case, we'll take this and we'll manipulate it. And you can see people on television doing it every day. Send me $1,000 and you'll get healed. Can you imagine such trash? Send me money and God will heal you. See, and that's what they do. So people would manipulate this, and it's just like a doctor. Before a doctor can operate on somebody, he's got to go through extensive schooling. This is much more significant, much more powerful than what a doctor learns. And that schooling takes place when you enter in, and that meditation takes place, and you're being restructured and retooled and purged away, and all of the ego and all of the desire and selfishness purged out. And then when it's all gone, that right side opens up, and the treasure opens, and there it is. And it's yours. And that's why it's very, very important that as you rise up into the air, you become bodhisattva, you become concerned about others. It's the glorious thing that takes place within your human body. And the reason, as Buddha said, you are not to retire to the solitude of the forest. That's what he did. When he said, you see, he said all the suffering in the world, and they said, well, he said, I got to figure this, I got to end all of this suffering. And they said, well, go into the monastery and fast. And he did, and he darn near died. And he said, I quit. I said, what do you mean you quit? He said, well, the only thing I'm getting is emaciated because I don't eat. But everything is still rotten. Everybody's still suffering. I haven't accomplished nothing except I'm almost dead from not eating. So he checked out of there, went down to a Wawa, got himself some hamburgers, cheeseburgers in paradise, and then he said, I'm going to eat, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go to a Bodhi tree, and I'm going to find out what the heck is going on. And he went up into nirvana, and he rose up into the air, and he became enlightened, and he understood, and he began to teach people about these things. But he says it's not for you to go to a forest, it's for you to stay into the world and help it, make it right. And then, as we get to the finale of this, as he was beginning to rise, it says that as Buddha began to rise on the throne, the earth shook 6 different ways. And myriads of witnesses were illumined. And that's all of the stars and all the lights that begin to speckle and shine within you. And if you could follow this adventure now as we come to the close of it, I love this part because it says, for 7 days the Buddha was bathed by heavenly beings with the waters of the 4 oceans. He said, oneness with all life, oneness with all humanity, oneness with everything that was the earth. You see, that's being centered into nature. It's like Kitaro talks. And Kitaro says when he makes his music, he says it comes from nature. He says because we have hurt nature and we've got to come back to the center and we have to be one with nature. We have to be one with all that is nature. And then after these 7 days of being bathed, and do you see what happened? Why is he bathed? Because all of the crud that he's accumulated from all of the fear and all of the anger and all of the guilt had to be washed away from him. That's what foot washing is, incidentally. When Jesus said, I've got to wash your feet, and they said, oh, that's ridiculous. For what? They said, well, if I can't do that, I can have no part of you because your feet are the things that touch the earth, and the earth signifies the lower mind. So you've picked up all the dirt from the ideas that have been put into your head by family, by government, by churches, by schools, by all of the things that you've read, and all of the things that people have tried to tell you, and all of the things that people have tried to get you enlightened with, and they've made you a damn near a nervous wreck. All people can run and take drugs and beat each other up and try, I want this, I want that, and so all of that washed away. So the feet which touch the earth are the part of you that touches the carnal mind, and that has to be washed away. It has nothing to do with your feet at all. It has to do that part of you that touches the lower part of the mind has to be washed away. And so the Buddha was bathed in, and all of that which he had accumulated, which was fear and guilt, was washed away. And then it says, another 7 days he remained seated with his eyes closed. Remember when Paul was knocked off of his horse on the road to Damascus and he became blind? He wasn't knocked off a horse at all. The horse means understanding. It means the understanding that he had of the way things were pulled out from under him, and he became blind. It means he no longer could look upon the same old things that he looked upon. He couldn't see life that way anymore. And this is what's happening to Shakyamuni. He can't see things the way he used to see them. He can't look at them the way he used to look at them. The things that he used to think were important weren't important anymore. He was looking on higher things. He was looking at different things. That's why in Noah's Ark, when they built the ark, they put the window in the ark in the ceiling, because the only way you can is look up. You can't look at all of the problems. You can't look at all of the hurt and all of the hate. You've got to look above in the higher realms. And then came a beautiful part in this. After he had been bathed and after he had been blinded for 7 days, then the king of the serpents came. What is a serpent? You have 9 levels of consciousness, and you go down to the 8th level of consciousness is where all your bad memories come from. And then Buddha said, drill down into the 9th, because she waits there, the serpent. And she rises up and devours all of the hurt and all of the guilt and all of the pain. And she came behind the Buddha, and the picture, magnificent if you can just picture it, she came behind him then and spread her hood around him and just protected him. The serpent is the same that you see on your doctor's little lapel, the caduceus, And that's the serpent, which is God, which rises on the lips. When the flute is on the lips of God, the serpent rises, and she spread her hood and protected and covered him as he rose up, which is the power of the Holy Spirit. And now I want you to listen very carefully to what's it all for. I want you to listen very, very, very carefully to what I'm telling you in this last line. Finally, a goddess, daughter of the gods, smiling, brought to him for his ordination a garment of rags. He had risen to the ultimate kingship of spirit, and for his ordination the goddesses brought him a garment of rags. Quite a different picture than you see on television with the slick hair and the $500 suits and the rings and the gold and all of that stuff. A garment of rags, because you are here for one purpose, and that is to serve. And that's what this power can be used for. And that's why if you're here to make you better or do things for you, forget it. Because you're only going to get frustrated. You're only going to get discouraged. That's not what it's for. It's for reaching out and making the world restored and putting Band-Aids on the world and repairing the ozone and repairing all of the things that we have destroyed by our viciousness against Mother Earth. And placing it all back and feeding the children in Africa who are starving to death and having the Spirit within you point a finger at all of those who make bombs and say, stop it. No more bombs. No more guns. And take all of that garbage you got, melt it down, and make things for people to eat and to wear and feed the children and take care of the animals, take care of the sea, and all of these magnificent things. So he got a garment of rags to put him and say, you finally made it. Now you can be a servant. All of that. Do you see what I just said? Maybe you came here for a different reason. Maybe you thought you were going to wear a crown. That's what they told you. But look what he got. Everything. Everything beautiful. A garment of rags. But Jesus said in Luke 9:58, foxes have holes, birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. And he also said, whoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. As the Son of Man came not to minister to, but to minister and to give his life. You know, and the point is that I'm not telling you to go out and do this or do that, because you can't do anything. There's nothing you can do. I'm simply saying to you, go and be changed and let Spirit take you to where it would. Go and allow yourself to rise into the air. And then allow the gods to sprinkle the flowers within you. And allow that holiness and that perfume to cover you within. And allow yourself to be risen up into the holy place. Allow yourself then to be bathed clean of all of the things that you've been told and have it all washed away. And allow yourself to be blinded to all of the things that you have thought were important. All of your traditions. Lord Jesus Christ said that by your traditions you compromise and take away the law of God. All of the things, you're a Catholic, forget it. You're a Baptist and Methodist, forget it. Whatever you forget it. Means that's absolutely worthless. You don't want any, you want to be saved? Yeah, for what? So you can get a garment of rags. Tell them that. Tell them that. Huh. Say it in the Bible? Sure it says. In the Bible it says all your righteousness is like filthy rags. And so you say, well, what the heck am I going all through this for? You're going through this so you can be part of the cosmic universal God who then reaches out and changes things and makes things right, makes things beautiful, changes the whole planet, changes the whole earth. But you got to understand. See, there's two little children back there. You know those two little children? Thank God they're in the hands of a mother and father who understand this. But do you know how many little children like that aren't in the hands of mother and fathers who understand? And do you know what kind of a hellish experience or a future they've got to look forward to? So that's what's so beautiful. We had two here this morning, but that's what's so beautiful. I tell them the only condition I make on doing these christenings and all that, I says, promise me you'll never mention devil or hell or demons or any of that crap in your house. Children do not deserve to be frightened, to be scared, to be threatened. They deserve to be risen up and lived with and loved. Let them spin. Let them get ice cream all over their face and let them roll in the sand and let them do all those things that they're supposed to do. But we've got to make them civilized like us. Whatever. Yeah, I love Jimmy. You ever hear Jimmy Buffett's song? Love Jimmy Buffett. He's got a song. He says, we are the people our parents warned us about. Stay away from them. Thank you very much for